Welcome to Blood in the Snow Radio, where we give you the latest news and interviews with the best in Canadian genre cinema. Here are your hosts, Robert Bellamy and Festival Director Kelly Michael Stewart.
Bits Radio is back, and I'm one of your hosts, Rob Bellamy.
And I'm Kelly Michael Stewart.
And we are here with the filmmakers for the film Asteria. Did I say that right?
Asteria.
Asteria.
Actually. Yeah, no,
there
all
we
good
go.
though. It's
Okay, and the synopsis is an interstellar runaway breaks into a rural man's home on a cold winter night.
Yeah.
Now, I'll get you to introduce yourself and your role.
Totally. My name is Daniel Brown. I'm the writer, director, and editor of the short film Asteria. I also did sound design as well.
This is independent film at its heart.
Independent film. Yeah.
85 hats.
There was like other, I had a great crew of specifically the DOP and the VFX director that, it totally wasn't a one-man show by any means, but I think when it comes to post-production on any film, sometimes that the director usually just
You have 6 people doing 12 people's jobs.
Yeah.
Independent film is lovely that way.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and we just premiered your film last night, the Monsters and
blast.
Martians program, and it was good. It was the first time we've had a sci-fi program where I was saying last night on like that, so it was great that you were able to be a part of that.
Yeah, this is my first time kind of coming out of the Atlantic Canadian region to showcase my work, so it's awesome, obviously to have the opportunity to do that. And at least to me, like Toronto feels like such a hub of Canadian film and art in general. So I was like, okay, great, I can come out and introduce myself. And that was such a, I don't think I've ever screened my work in front of a theater that big either, like and that many people I didn't know. So that great opportunity, really appreciate it.
Right.
Well, that's when art becomes art.
Yeah.
Once you leaves you and now it's in front of the public and you pray.
It's not just mine anymore. I do find screenings can be very nerve-wracking, but last night everyone was really affirming, so that was
great.
Excellent.
And it's interesting. We were just talking off mic before, like about from being PEI. We haven't played a lot of films from PEI, and so what's the Atlantic film scene like? What's it like in PEI? Like, give us like a little background on that.
Yeah, totally. I would say comparatively quite small. Even like there are other regions in Atlantic Canada, namely Nova Scotia and Newfoundland increasingly, that, at least in my impression, are much larger and much more. I think in Nova Scotia, at least, you're able to probably work full time on film, and like there's just lots of TV shows coming through. PEI is just because of certain geographical barriers.
Right.
It is just harder to probably get crews out there, and you're limited in what kind of stuff you can do there. But there is a growing community. The film festival there, Anchorfest is, or it's being renamed to Anchorfest, is really kind of bringing in the wider Canadian world, and there are people doing independent stuff, and we've got a tight knit group of friends. So.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we had a call there's the film commission just started like 3 years ago or something like that too out of PEI. Do you worked with them at all or
on PEI? I'm not sure if it was there's Film PEI.
Right.
Is that what
they use different names, but yeah.
I'm not sure about and then the various production companies.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure about.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about in the past 3 years, but
because what I was hearing was that a lot of shows were that they would shoot something in Nova Scotia or something and pretend that it's PEI because they have because they're tax credits and stuff like that too, and just like
I think that might ring more a bell. I think certainly the province has been trying to boost the tax credit presence, and there was an instance like that with the CBC show,
right?
Mostly based in Nova Scotia, but it, for whatever reasons, it becomes advantageous to shoot over in PEI because of tax credit purposes. Yeah, stuff that's way above my ability to comprehend.
Yeah.
There are those locations. That's why everybody films in Georgia. Like just certain areas that draw.
Well, I mean, Toronto is New York City practically for locations.
There was a feature film just made like over the winter. I think it's like a Christmas zombie film. I don't actually know that for sure, but it's something along those lines.
I'm in.
There you go. Yeah,
I want to watch that.
And it was an example of one that was like, okay, this could be any part of the world, or a more not a specific part of the world, and PEI was able to tick those boxes for this production company. And then from everything I heard, it's actually quite like it was an ambitious movie. So increasingly, I think the province is wanting to, based on who I know with the province, they're really trying to bring in more and more productions.
Yeah.
That's a huge, because as you guys probably know, like there's film industry can be booming if you lean into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So going back to your film project, so talk about how that first came about and what was the seed of it.
So Asteria is, I would describe it as very minimalist. It's like only 5 minutes long, but that's kind of something that I wanted to do based on my prior short films. I wanted to really strip it back and make something that focused on the visual storytelling. And more specifically, didn't have dialogue, because I think some of my earlier shorts were like way too wordy, and I just was like, I want to be able to. So in some ways, it was like a training ground of just like trying to push myself to become a better visual storyteller. And I think the same goes for like the crew that became involved. Like it kind of pushed all of us. None of us had really shot like a nighttime scene before. It takes place during night, so just like learning how to light that. The VFX obviously we had to be very methodical and plan out about that. So it's about the story. It's called Asteria, which is Asteria is the name of the Greek god of falling stars, and that kind of is what informed the lore. Where there's this alien visitor that looks like a little glowing ball of light, and as is probably the case with a lot of the short films here, I do have like a way bigger idea for it, and this was just like a kind of a snippet of that idea, a proof of concept, I suppose. And of that first encounter, where I think there's the alien element, which is kind of framed. I wanted to stylize it after a kind of a heightened, like almost like fantasy type of story, like with again this little glowing ball of light, so almost has like a Tinkerbell feel. But then she arrives in the house of a rural PEI man who is just trying to scrape by on like keeping up with his heating bills, and that's kind of more where my experience comes into it. I live in this like 150-year-old house in rural PEI, which is not uncommon for Islanders, but when we first moved there, for whatever like economic reasons, the heating prices were doubling, and it was like, oh my gosh, like you just started to become anxious about all that, and it's all very new, and I was like, I feel like this is, whatever your living situation is, it's just a part of growing up and trying to figure out how to do all this grown-up stuff. In me, it like triggered some fears for a while, and I got over it, but I just couldn't get away from exploring that idea of fear and how, in my instance and in this main character's instance, it was kind of relatively mundane in the grand scheme of life. So what if this like cosmic conflict kind of came down to his front door or breaks through his window? And that's where it becomes, in my mind, a bit of an exploration of the subtle fears and the light versus darkness fears, and that's all. And I did that all. It's a 5-minute shorts. This is all my like behind the scenes intentions for the 5-minute short.
Well, and that's why it's interesting you say this is just a snippet of a bigger idea that you have, because it's one of those shorts where it leaves you wanting more.
Cool, yeah, and totally like that was partly by design. I was fortunate to meet some of the other, go out with some of the other filmmakers from the screening last night, and we were talking about this, where it's like you still want to treat each thing like its own story. Like, hey, I might never do anything else with this story ever again, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But there certainly could be more to explore. I think. I'm trying to think where I was going to go with that. I wanted to treat it like its own thing still.
Well, I think that's really important. I think a lot of times we'll get really solid proof of concepts, but they don't stand alone. Like it feels like it's a clip from a larger feature, and it's fine for showing investors and things like that. But it also has to play on its own thing especially when playing to a festival audience. The festival audience aren't. Like it has to have its own thing,
That you're not pitching to them.
Exactly. They're just enjoying whatever you're showing, right? So
So I guess and certainly like I think my short does maybe like ride the line there. It's I think I would argue there's a subtle story arc, but yeah, I think hopefully, and it was nice to get some like kind comments afterward. My goal again as director was just kind of like focus on the way it was told and try and make it like immersive, specifically like by like making you feel like you're in that room when this alien comes into the house, and I think some of the best directors do that 10 times throughout the course of a feature film. And
so did you hit any challenges now? Like you said, this was your first nighttime thing with the VFX on top of it.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that you hit?
Definitely just the amount of time we allotted to actual filming. Lots of talking before, but then filming, we just gave ourselves one night and not even like a full, like, I think shooting, aside from like setup and tear down of the gear, we probably gave ourselves like 6 hours. And we filmed it even though it's based in the winter, we filmed it in the summer. So we had to wait till like 9 p.m. before the sun went down so we could actually start. So I think just that, and then, it was certainly like our shot list. I kind of had like here's the priority shots to like bare minimum do what we need to do, and so then we didn't get all of the additional shots that maybe I would have liked. Like challenges then and like afterward was some of the shots were exclusively VFX. Some of the shots needed the VFX added, and we had thought and planned all that out. But certainly, like I think it was a valuable experience working with my VFX director Brendan Henry, who I would totally work with again. Also an Islander. Both of us realized we're very perfectionists, so that maybe like sometimes you need to know when to let go of a shot. But just the general challenge of that, of like learning how to like communicate something that doesn't exist and is completely in your head, and like things like there's a shot where this falling star is hurtling and crashing towards the Earth, and it's like very particular, like, oh no, like turn it clockwise instead of counterclockwise, and realizing that like getting on the same page as everyone. And that with some of because it's so short too, there was some elements of filming that I think some like getting all the crew on the same page of like why we're doing certain things, what's happening, because we weren't filming those VFX portions and they didn't have the context of those VFX portions. I think maybe there was some confusion there. And then once they saw the final product, it was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Nothing against anyone. It's like, this is probably just standard filmmaking.
Yeah, you're watching someone take a film of the sky, and it's like, great, what's this all about?
Yeah. There's like there's a shot that we go through the floor, and I guess the challenge there was from a lighting perspective, interestingly. Like, we lit the entire top floor with the intention of doing all the top floor stuff, but then I wanted to do that through the floor shot, because there's this like floor vent in the film. So then they're like, well, we can't just do that because we haven't lit the downstairs yet, and we only have enough lights to do like one floor at a time. So stuff like that. And we worked it out, honestly. At the end of the day, we just did part one. We just stitched 2 versions of the shot together. But like that required a lot of talking and a lot of planning, and it worked out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and congrats on being in Bits.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me out here. It's been a blast, and hope to come back.
Yeah, we can't wait to see what you bring.
Great.
Join us next time for Blood in the Snow Radio. Bits Radio is a production of 3 Evil Cats Productions in association with the Blood in the Snow Canadian Film Festival. For more information and to listen to other episodes, visit bloodinthesnow.ca and tweet us at BitsFilmFest. Music by Jen Gorman, produced and edited by Kelly Michael Stewart. I am Eduardo